because I had another online lecture with my old jazz harmony teacher, and it was like, it's so funny going to these things because it's almost like I'm just transported back to my classroom from when I was studying this stuff full time, and it's like I remember so much of it. it was really fun to refresh some of these ideas. You know, Pete, my teacher, he's a master of breaking down the theoretical side of things so that you understand it, and so that it makes complete logical sense. It's remarkable. I had the experience when I was studying of wondering how I had been learning music for so long without ever having encountered this way of presenting the information, because it seemed so logical, so beyond, so perfectly clear. And I just couldn't believe that I'd never heard it before. I was like, I've been studying this for years and nobody's ever said it like this, and therefore it's never made this kind of sense. And all these relationships of binding things together has never really happened. So that's just even one side of what he does masterfully. The other side is he takes all of that information and then just breaks it down into exercises, like things you can do, things your hands can do, things you can either do intellectually for learning the harmony of music in the sense of speed of thought, and or tangible practical stuff for the keyboard or another instrument, whatever you happen to play. But it was so fun to go back and check all that out. And it was, again, like most of the stuff I remembered, but but refreshing it and just reminding myself, oh yeah, that's a great exercise, and I should really do that. I remember that. I remember learning this. I haven't spent much time on that recently. Maybe I should get back to that. It was that kind of thing. And what it evoked for me in a larger sense is just a recognition that there's a way in which our continuing advancement in a craft almost always, on some level, is about strengthening the fundamentals. Now, I guess you have to define fundamentals in a certain way for that to be true. But there's a way in which it feels like coming back to basics, coming back to foundation is so both revelatory, especially when we're talking about, not just like stuff that we do out of habit. Not the basics doesn't mean all the habitual exercises that you do already. The basics means reinvestigating the most simple, fundamental shapes and patterns that we express, whether it's in music. I can imagine this being true for visual art, although I don't have experience with that. Or whether it's with writing, the concepts, the kind of foundational concepts of how we communicate what we're saying. There's this, I guess that's what's showing up for me today, is just an appreciation of how much, I've done a post a couple months ago, I think, about getting back to basics and feeling the urge to kind of come back to basics in some of my piano practice. And when I now work with my new unbelievable piano teacher, Madeline, that's what I'm doing. I'm rebuilding the foundation of how I play. And that's what's advancing me. So it's really kind of remarkable to me how true that is holding that principle that on some level our advancement, how high we can reach, is very, very rooted in how deeply rooted we are. I mean, this makes sense in the spiritual sense too. There's a way in which I feel like spiritual teaching, you know, if you read Chogyam Trungpa, he's talking about look at the items in your house. Start by becoming really conscious of how you use a fork, how you clean your toilet. Start with like the most foundational stuff and observe our relationship to those things. And this is coming from a spiritual wizard, you know, like a light being. And where he points us is back to basics, right to the foundation. Of course, he's not saying don't meditate or don't do other practices, don't do higher level practices. He's just saying, I just love that sense of like coming home to the reality and coming home to the foundation. It's soothing. There's something in it that lets me realize, oh, it's like I breathe right. Advancement doesn't mean a bunch of fancy shit that I don't yet understand. That's not advancement. Advancement means slowing down and connecting with the foundational stuff that I do understand, that I very much, that I have, that's not foreign to me. It's actually familiar, but it's still fertile territory that I can go deeper into. It's exactly what I'm doing when I'm playing with Madeline. I'm on the, it's on the more technical and musical, expressive, listening, physical, psychological, spiritual relationship to music level, as opposed to the kind of music theory, jazz theory level. But it's the same idea. It's creating a stronger and stronger foundation and trusting that that's where the fancy stuff comes from. It doesn't come from reaching for it. It comes from settling into what's truly there. So that's where I am today, people. It's been a long day. I got up at 3 a.m. so I could take an online class in London. But a beautiful day. Beautiful, beautiful day. Thanks for watching. Love you. Appreciate you. More than I can say. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow.